I mean, I always do. I was, that's the thing I get asked a lot is, how do you really, push forward on your interior design confidence? And it is definitely gin. Or the other one is, where do your interior design schemes start? Gin, and history. The two narcotics in my world.
A good combination.
Oh, it's faultless. I mean, absolutely
Really?
faultless. Without gin and history, you're unlikely to achieve much. I mean, look at modernism, which I think we can all agree now has been thoroughly put back in its box, because actually it just didn't work, and it had no gin, and it had no history. It also had no joy. It was also one of the most extraordinarily anti-feminist design movements I think anyone has ever come up with. I think people really don't realise that. But the Bauhaus were very bad on women. They were total misogynists. And even though they welcomed women into, the ethos, women were only allowed to design rugs. They weren't trusted with architecture or furniture or anything. They were supposed to design rugs. And then the whole modernist ethos, the 20th century modernist ethos, which was incredibly anti-craft, anti-craftsmanship. Craft has always been the repository of female magic. You go right the way back through history. And actually, I mean, it's called witchcraft for a reason. It is, what women make to protect, to celebrate their safe place, their home, to keep, everything they have made in a protective bubble. And, for a design movement to completely deny you anything homemade, to suggest that everything had to be manufactured, made by men, made by men in straight lines. And of course, there's nothing more misogynistic than a straight line. Design that embraces curves, voluptuousness, embraces nature and embraces femininity.
And that's exactly
Oh my
what your
goodness me, where did
designs
all that
do.
come from? That was just like, rant.
That was a good introduction. I wasn't expecting it, but I like it. It's true. Words to live by, definitely. Gin, history, and also feminism.
Yes.
But that's another podcast, probably, Lawrence.
But why not? Why
But
not?
it's a
So
good title for a
I'm here
podcast,
all
I
week.
think. Gin, history, and feminism.
Feminism. I
Moving
mean, it
back.
is it's actually. I mean, gin was always perceived as well as being the first drink. It always was. Mother's ruin. And as my incandescently wonderful wife always says, that she was ruined long before she took up gin. She's not intending to blame gin for anything that's happened to her. But it was. I mean, in the 18th century, it was very much. It was what the fisherwives drank. It was what the incredibly poor, they could just about afford a pint of gin. Which dulled the pain and, with any luck, gave them a bit of scant sleep before their appalling life started again in the morning. That's the whole thing with Hogarth's Gin Street and Beer Alley, that the prosperous drank beer and the poor drank gin.
And it's
The
completely the
poor
other way
and
around now, isn't it? Gin's
well,
an
it's
artisan, going back to
absolutely,
craft, it's all
yeah,
crafty and artisan now, isn't
it
it?
is absolutely. And in fact, I mean, Jackie and I wrote a book, um, early noughties, called Pinch Posh, and it was sort of trying to define the concept of posh, which has always amused me because it has no real definition, and has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with class. It actually just has entirely everything to do with you. That you feel posh and you define what posh is, and I love that. I love the fact we bumped into the late Duchess of Devonshire, who the Mitford Devonshire, so that's like super cool. And she was referred to, another Duchess, the Duchess of Northumberland, as the posh Duchess. Not because the Duchess was higher born, but because she looked like Posh Spice. And I think, that there's a Duchess on Duchess joke that, us mortals, wow,
I was going to
who knew
say, yeah, a
who
lot
knew
to unpack
duchesses
there.
had that kind of humour with each other? But I mean, when we wrote the book, we used gin as a complete joke because back in the noughties, nobody could think of anything more, old-fashioned and frowsty than gin. Everybody was into vodka bars and things like that. So when we defined gin as the absolute epitome of poshness, gin potentially in a large crystal vase, maybe with tonic if you wanted it. Basically, gin and Dolly Parton, the two icons of posh, as far as I'm concerned.